Hi, this is Robert Jean here in Oklahoma in my kitchen, and I'm answering questions. This is the last one. It's a long one too. Can you give me more specific advice? I take a lot of stuff at night to help make me sleep. Herbs, no prescriptions. I go without it some just to see if I can sleep to no avail. My mind isn't racing. I have no stress in my life currently. My past, however, there's nothing but stress and terror. All right, there's a key there. There are only 3 things that I can remember that logically have anything to do with sleep. All right. First one is, when I was very young, I had to sleep on a pallet by my grandfather's bed, and sometimes he would step on me in the middle of the night. Second memory. Later, I was a bedwetter, and a long story, but there were severe consequences. And I do remember laying in bed at night, afraid to sleep because I knew what would happen. And there's many times I supposedly laid awake all night. Number 3, I had my cortisol levels checked a few years back, nothing terrible, but I now have tremendous sensitivity to and kind of stimulant. So I can't really even have caffeine. I don't know if it's related, but I feel like I'd like to share that as well. Any suggestions of which practitioner has great success with this issue? And I will be getting sessions in Oklahoma City at level 1. Thank you so much, Susan. You know, this is sleep is a very interesting, or insomnia is an interesting thing. There's many models to insomnia. Now, granted, these things that you mentioned could very well have an impact on it. Working with hundreds of people with insomnia. Insomnia has a lot of belief systems behind it. There's also a lot of unconscious programming. And if you don't really understand how the mind works, there's a part of your mind called the amygdala and the hippocampus. And what happens is it captures, information comes in, it captures and organizes. And depending on what kind of information comes in will determine the outcome of your life. So, you know, one story is, you know, the child laying in bed at night, and every night they hear mom and dad fight. So they lay in bed at night not sleeping as a child. And of course, you know, that becomes a program, the unconscious program. Another one, a person who has can't sleep at night because one time in the middle of the night, she got a phone call in the middle of the night, her son was killed in an accident. And from that point forward, she couldn't sleep at night. She couldn't figure out why. Actually, it happened, but she didn't remember it. And that's why she couldn't sleep at night. So there's a lot of programming that the unconscious mind holds. Another one is that somebody would come in the middle of the night and mess with them. And therefore it wasn't safe to sleep, so therefore they couldn't sleep. So there's a lot of unconscious recordings that your brain will use, and it's interesting how it works. And it reminds me of the guy that I worked with who was in Afghanistan, and we dealt with a lot of death and a lot of stuff. And he says, you know, it's really weird, you know, I get so anxious when I smoke. And so I said, well, this is how the brain works. You know, you'll have an event will happen, and your brain will link 2 things together. The amygdala will fire them off, and then they wire it back in the background. And then all of a sudden, you're smoking a cigarette, and the amygdala starts pumping out feelings and emotions, sensations and behaviors without you even knowing it, like you go into a hypnosis, a trance. That's why I call the amygdala. It's the hypnotist that makes you do things and don't even know that it made you do it. And so he goes, oh my God, I just remember. I was sitting out there late at night, me and my buddy sitting out there smoking and leaning against the Humvee, and I see all these tracer rounds coming right at us. So we jumped underneath the truck. All right, so his brain wired it up to where smoking means you got to be aware something bad's getting ready to happen. Now, this is what happens with sleep. There are events, there are stories that we may have picked up from our parents. There may be something that you don't even remember. This one lady I was working on, she said, I can't go to anybody's houses. I can't go to trips. I can't stay in hotels. And the reason is my poor husband, my kids. I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, I would wake up from a dead sleep screaming bloody murder. And it was just, it's so embarrassing. It's like it sounds like somebody's trying to kill me. I have no idea why I do this. And of course, I don't know. So I just did a little intake, and I couldn't find exactly what the memory was. So we started addressing her unconscious, which is memories and references. All of a sudden, her mind pops in the cause. Now the cause is she didn't even remember it, had no knowledge of it whatsoever. But what happened is when she was like 6 years old, 3 to 4, 5, 6 years old, she's sleeping on the bottom bunk and the top bunk, boom, fell right on top of her. No memory of it until that day. From that moment forward, we addressed it, rewrote the neurology in the mind, rewrote how it felt, changed the sensations in the body and the mind. From that point forward, she slept all night. No waking up in the middle of the night. So that's another program. Another one is that people oftentimes who say they have insomnia, you don't have it, you do insomnia, you create insomnia, and you're doing something in your mind. And so one guy, he would plan his ability to sleep, but in his mind, everything he did, he saw himself not sleeping, which by the way was hypnotizing himself to not sleep. So we had to change that program as well. So anyway, I hope this makes sense. So my opinion is, yes, address those memories. Also address your belief system and what you do within yourself about sleeping and not sleeping. Any traumas at night, any physical abuses, any memories that stick up. If you don't have any, don't worry about it. Address what you do know, and your unconscious mind can make the adjustments if you have a good practitioner. Of course, I recommend a eutaptics trained practitioner, FasterEFT, because we do teach how to go deeper into the unconscious and to pull out and rewrite the story to where you can have control. And if you want to learn how to do it yourself, you can go on an online course, you can change yourself, the basics level 1 training, and it basically teaches you how your brain works and shows you how to change it. And you probably should get the mentor class because we also walk you through how to do it on yourself even more so. So this is Robert Smith. I hope this makes sense. Do get sessions. I recommend it. I get sessions because it's a smart thing to do. And also invest in your own mind, because you're stuck with you. You might as well be friends with yourself. This is Robert. Peace.